Welcome to Tech Talk, y'all.
Yeah, I was just letting it kind of get going. I was just letting it get rolling, spool up. I was letting it spool up for a minute. That's it. Yeah,
isn't that that's like a real to real days talk?
Probably not Instagram reels.
I don't think you and I were even
we weren't
alive doing that. I mean,
I
think it existed when I was alive, but I don't think.
Well, they exist today in somebody's basement
true.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right, well, let's do this. All right, hi, and welcome to Tech Talk, y'all, episode 369. I'm Adam Walker.
And I'm Sanjay Park, and I don't use a reel-to-reel audio thing to listen to music.
I mean, but you could. I
use Spotify.
There's still time. We got a good episode for you today. I've got an interesting tech rec that I'm really enjoying, but is also profoundly frustrating, and I'm working through the frustration. We'll talk about that during tech rec time. And we're doing like a midweek thing because we're busy at the end of this week. So we're doing a midweek
busy
thing.
People. We got things to do, places to go, people to see.
We got things going on. So let's dig into it. All right. YouTube is buying TikTok ads to lure creators before US ban. So I guess YouTube's betting on TikTok going away and they're trying to lure creators away through TikTok ads. Okay. I don't like, here's the thing, right? I don't feel like people get it. The communities and approaches are dramatically different on TikTok than on YouTube, than on Reels, than on Facebook. And I've said it many times on this show, like the TikTok community, at least in my experience, is very supportive, very encouraging. Like it's a really interesting, there's terrible people on there for sure. But for the things I see, it's actually very uplifting. The YouTube audience that I get hates on my hat and is like weird. So, don't get me wrong. Like I would like to grow a healthy audience on YouTube. I'm just not sure how to do that. But I don't see this happening. I don't.
What I find weird is it feels like they're viewing their platform and other platforms as a zero sum game. Like these are the entire sets of creators that exist in the world, and we're going to fight over them.
Right.
And that's it. Instead, why not think about like, okay, how can we create new creators that don't exist now and expand the pie, not even for just themselves, but for everybody.
Right.
I think that, it's like what you see in a TV show like The Voice or American Idol or something like that, like trying to go out there and discover new talent that doesn't exist, that doesn't have access and lift that up. Right. Like, I don't know. I feel like, maybe this is the easier approach because they already have an audience and a following and everything else. And that's what they care about.
That's probably
is the short-term hit. But I feel like it would be more fulfilling to get and help those people that would otherwise not have access.
But they don't care about fulfilling. They care about users and dollars and eyeballs and dollars and eyeballs.
But I feel like the longer term play is something like that. Because honestly, if somebody is so fickle that they're going to jump from platform to platform just because you throw a little bit of cash at them, how long is it before they leave your platform when somebody else throws a little bit of cash plus one?
There's a certain social media mogul that likes to throw cash around. So entirely possible there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talking about somebody else that's trying to throw things around. UK demands access to Apple's users' encrypted data. All of you should be scared if you have an Apple device if this goes through.
I don't like that.
So there was another story that I read that said basically encouraging Congress to enact a law that prevents any American company from implementing a backdoor for any other government.
Ooh, I like that.
And it's like, that feels like a cage match about to happen of like, well, you're an American company, so we can't do it because of this, but you're operating on our soil, so you got to do it because of this. Which one wins at that point? Because the other thing with this too is if they implement this, then other countries are going to be like, oh, by the way, also ditto, we want access to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a dangerous precedent. I don't understand why governments don't get that, but I don't know. It's a lot of overreach. For sure.
I think as a user, and I see more and more people, I still see people to this day joining Signal. I would very much encourage moving to other platforms that would have no possibility of implementing an encryption backdoor because they just can't. Their architecture is in such a way that they just can't. I know we've talked on the show before about WhatsApp being end-to-end encrypted, but honestly, I would not trust Meta WhatsApp to protect your stuff.
I
would trust somebody like Signal to protect your stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Meta staff torrented, speaking of trusting Meta staff torrented nearly 82 terabytes of pirated books for AI training. Court records reveal copyright violations. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, it's not surprising. And I'm sure OpenAI is doing the same thing. Like, there is a significant.
They say we haven't tried. We've tried not to, but then it's just crawling the internet, just scraping. Sucking up everything, vacuuming up everything.
I will say, like, I've asked for book summaries from ChatGPT, and it does give profoundly good book summaries as if it's consumed the entire book. And that does concern me for sure. But I mean, just having staff members in a document saying this is what they were doing. The IP addresses were from Meta that were torrenting the data. They were doing it on a Meta laptop. Like, it's just, I mean, just come on.
And them saying like, I don't think this is a good idea. And then they do it anyways.
I mean,
it's like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. By the way, listeners, I know some of you have thought we've done this in the past, that we build these segues in based on the articles. Those are completely accidental.
No, we're just making them up.
I didn't even see what the next article was in the lineup.
When
I made that comment.
I mean, listen, it's the whole show's made up and the points don't matter. So,
exactly.
That's just how this is.
This is the Whose Line Is It Anyways version of tech news for you
tech
today.
Talk article is it anyways?
And now you can send text about it everywhere you want. T-Mobile's Starlink messaging service is now free to try, even if you aren't on T-Mobile. Asterisk, only until the end of July, I think. Beginning of July.
Yeah.
So you got a couple of months of this. So if you're on AT&T or Verizon or whatever, here's the other asterisk to this, because then I went reading through the article, being like, oh, can I try this out? Your phone has to be within the last 4 years. So 2021 or newer, essentially. Mine's a 2020.
I don't think mine's that new either. Yeah. I think I'm on an old phone right now. So it's an iPhone 13. I don't remember when those came out, but it's been a hot minute. So
not that I want to encourage people to use Elon Musk's things.
No,
give him more money or anything else. Like, it is an interesting approach.
I mean, it's good for emergencies, I think. And,
I think you're right.
For sure. Like, it's really good for emergencies. I think beyond that, I don't see many use cases for it. Maybe international travel, because like there is no international issues because you're just hitting satellites, right? So maybe then, But otherwise, I can't see any use for it. So
yeah, it's texting right now. I think there's going to be some kind of charge for certain apps that you can then use on this network. But like and we do have maybe a myopic view of this because we live in a big city and we have good connectivity here.
That's true.
So there might be many people out there in rural areas that have access issues and stuff. So this might be helpful to them. But I think you're definitely, nail on the head there of people in emergencies like that.
Yeah.
Always seems to happen when you don't have access to signals. I mean, think about boats in the middle of the ocean and things like that. Like, you have an emergency in the middle of the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean. It'd really be nice to be able to send a message out.
Would be really nice. Yeah, that's true. All right, next up, and you're going to have to explain this one to me. I'm not sure I'm understanding the significance here. You didn't notice MP3 is now free. So the file format of MP3 is no longer under what?
Copyright. Copyright and patent. I think it was patent or copyright, one of the two.
Okay.
It was probably patent on the algorithm. So yeah, you don't ever realize this. But when you and I were younger, years and years ago, and there was MP3 trading, and you ripped your CDs into MP3s.
That's right.
Like that MP3 format was a copyrighted or patented formula, algorithm.
Okay.
And so there were only certain tools that you could use and things like that. And although there were other tools that did it, but they weren't legal necessarily or whatever. But now all of those restrictions have expired. And so now MP3s are free. The technology is free to use for anybody. Here's why it doesn't matter. For most of us, we were just mentioning rural people that may not have high speed access.
Yeah.
But for most of us, we have high speed access.
Yeah.
And the limitation of size, and, bandwidth for delivering streaming audio really doesn't matter much anymore. And so a lot of these services have moved on from MP3s. They use other codecs and algorithms for audio compression. But for anybody that's out there that wants to use MP3 in software, you can do it now, and you don't have to pay a royalty to anybody to be able to do that. So it's just interesting. I think it's an interesting footnote. It was the same thing that was true with GIF file format back in the day. Those were a royalty algorithm, and so people had to pay royalties for them or for the decoding of them. That's why PNGs happened, and that's why, honestly, like a lot of other file formats of audio besides MP3 ended up coming up, like FLAC and things like that, because people didn't want to pay the royalties on MP3. So it's an interesting footnote and the innovation that happens when people try to restrict access to technology like that.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah. Talking about somebody that's not restricting access to things, NASA and General Atomics test nuclear fuel for future moon and Mars missions.
That seems like a great idea.
I
love nuclear fuel.
Think about this, like rockets flying around with nuclear stuff. Like as long as it doesn't explode,
as long as they're flying away from Earth, I'm fine with it. It's on the return trip that I'm concerned about the nuclear fuel.
I'm worried about the even flying away, because if it blows up as it's flying away,
that's true. Yeah,
a bunch of nuclear fuel everywhere.
That'd be bad. Yeah,
that's less than ideal.
I mean, it's good that they're trying to think through, how to get to Mars, because we're going to need to go there in the next 100 years. So or at least we're
next 100. I'm ready to go like next week.
Like
Things
20,
are not
like
going
20
well
years
here.
Yeah,
so.
That's a good point. There's so many jokes I could make right there. Like so many jokes.
Either that or send some people.
I was just thinking Canada.
Can I send
Canada
some people next week?
Let's just go to Canada.
Can we do a Kickstarter for like tickets to Mars for certain people?
For specific individuals? I think
named individuals.
We'd blow the roof off the bank, man. It would just be gone. There would be so much money coming in.
Like a series of
If it was real. Yeah.
Like you get to pick who you want to pay for to Mars, and you can contribute money for them to leave the planet.
So speaking of, I don't even know. Stellantis introduces pop-up ads in vehicles, sparking outrage among owners. And so this is happening in Jeeps in particular, in electric Jeeps in particular. And the ads pop up taking a full screen display ad that pops up when the user comes to a complete stop, when the driver comes to a complete stop. Can you imagine, like, you got your maps up, and you come to a complete stop at a stoplight, and there's an ad? I would punch it. Like, I would be ready. Like that. Like, I'm replacing. It's so easy to replace the head unit in those things. Like, I would be replacing it immediately. It would be gone. Like, there's no chance.
I still don't believe that you actually replaced it. I think your Jeep is still non-functional.
You cannot believe it.
In my mind, it's still non-functional.
Would it make you feel more likely that I replaced it if I told you it was a little buggy from time to time? Would that make you feel better?
Color me surprised. This is, by the way, something that people, speaking of like sending to Mars, like people would send these vehicles to Mars.
Yeah.
Like that. This would infuriate me to no end.
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine.
This would be the reason not to buy one of their vehicles.
Yes.
There.
That's the reason right there. Yeah. Like it's crazy. Like the Jeep community is hardcore about modding vehicles. So they're talking about creating an ad blocker for the Jeep.
But that's ridiculous, honestly. How much money did you spend on this thing?
That is wild.
To have to do that. Like,
that's crazy.
You just buy a different vehicle.
The problem with the Jeep community is like some would argue that a Bronco is similar to it. There really is not an equivalent to it in my mind. Like to a Jeep Wrangler, there's just not a similar car. So
honestly, like I don't care about a car that much to be like, I know I still have to have that even though it stinks.
Yeah.
I would be like, nope.
I would buy the car and replace the stereo for sure is what I would do. So that's just me. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. Yeah. But something I would do, and I would love for people to do this because I hate those bright billboards. E-Ink's color e-paper tech gets supersized for outdoor displays.
Yeah, I like it.
This is awesome. So you can run, like, obviously, as we know, e-ink displays can run forever. Just some weeks ago, I recommended this one, as one of my tech recs, if you're watching the video.
Yep.
And it runs on e-ink too, and it's fantastic. I have not recharged it, by the way. I've had it for a couple of months, and I've not charged it now as of yet. But basically, what they're doing is they've supersized, and it's a color e-ink display. So they're talking about like the ads that you have in a bus station, and you could run it using just solar panels on the top of the display, on the top of the little bus what is that called? Bus bench? Bus waiting bench?
Yeah. Bus bench. We're going to go with bus bench. I like that.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that irritates me to no end, when you're driving at night and you've got these LED billboards
they're bright.
that are so bright.
Yeah.
Like, why is there not a law around the required maximum luminosity? Would that be the right word? Luminosity?
I think lumens. Yeah, lumens per light. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
The amount of light that comes out of a billboard at nighttime.
I like that.
Right? There needs to be a limit on those things. But something like this, an e-ink display, it
looks cool too. And it lasts forever. You can put them up anywhere. Like they can be battery powered for all things. Like it's great. So
right. Yeah. I mean, really like the old style billboards that are the paper. Are they paper, vinyl, whatever they put up there? They're not paper. They've got to be vinyl, right? Vinyl.
Probably vinyl, I would think.
Like if you can't switch them out for an LED display, which please don't do that because those are awful.
Yeah.
Switch it out for one of these. I think that'd be pretty cool. It'd be neat to see them switch too when they're like, wait, that billboard's changing.
Speaking of switching, BuzzFeed's new plan, an AI-powered social media platform to help spread joy. So I kind of like this. Like I would have liked some more specifics in the article about like what is this platform going to look like. But I'll say this, right? BuzzFeed puts out an insane amount of content, and it's all over all the other social media apps. Like having their own like nice social app with their own content, like it can be pretty interesting. So. Yeah, I like the concept at least.
The memo was interesting where he was basically taking apart TikTok and Meta for the fact that like they don't care about content. They just care about things performing, and they care about the AI and the technology more than they do the content. And so that's why you get this content that is enraging or, whatever, like all of the things that drive interaction because that drives dollars versus actually delivering content that makes you feel good. And it's funny because I hear people talk about this all the time. Like, I got rid of X, Y, or Z platform because it was just, doom scrolling. Like, doom scrolling's a thing because it's just one after the next because it tries to keep you engaged.
So that's been my experience with Meta for sure. That's never been my experience with TikTok though. TikTok, the content it serves me is generally very good content. And engaging, interesting content. I mean, maybe it's because I just, do like the whole not interested thing on all the other garbage. So it doesn't show me that. But I don't know. I've been impressed, honestly, with the quality of the content that it shows. So, but maybe he's right. Maybe that's a unique perspective from my own angle. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
A good feeling social network.
I like that. I like that.
A good thing.
Yeah, I like that.
Time for the Weird and Wacky segment.
Abominable snowman.
He's not an axe murderer. One of the TAs turned out to be a
First up in Weird and Wacky, and oh my God, I am such a fan of this.
Please,
add a zero to it.
Bring this to the U.S.
Man fined $200 for using speakerphone in French train station. Yes, do this.
Do this.
Absolutely.
This is the new standard.
So a guy was taking a phone call on a speakerphone, not even on the train, in the station. And was approached and told that he had to stop or something. And then he didn't because he thought it was a joke. And then they fined him 175 euros, I think it was. And because he couldn't pay it right there on the spot, it went up to 200 euros or $200, whatever it was.
Wow.
So there's an additional, if you can't pay it on the spot, fine for something like this. I mean, I got to say, for a lot of things, Europe has these things figured out. I will dig on the French for a lot of things. They are 100% correct on this.
Yes,
100%. And I'll
yeah.
tell you, this should not apply just to train stations. This should apply to every public place in life.
Oh, yeah.
If you're at the grocery store, if you're in the bathroom, the fine should be 10x in the bathroom.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
Like at the urinal? Like, come on, man.
I know.
Come on.
Like, I know you don't care if people hear you tinkling. I don't need my tinkling to be shared with some random person I don't know.
I think I'm going to say this, right? And it's going to be just so controversial, but not really. I think talking on the speakerphone in public is now the equivalent to smoking in public. Like that's what it's like. We don't want that pollution in our lives.
It should be shunned.
Yeah.
You should not. It just does make me think though, and I've never done this before, but now maybe I'm getting emboldened by this, to start saying things when people are on a speakerphone call.
Oh, for sure.
Like
for
join
sure.
the call.
Yeah. Yeah. Or not just yell out random things like, why are you taking your shirt off? You know, like to some guy in the bathroom, like that'd be fine. Or like in the bathroom, like the better thing would be like, you can't do number 2 in the urinal. Like that'd be a good one. You know, like that's a good one.
I think I need you with me when these things happen. You're coming up with some good ones.
I mean, if you're at like Publix, you know, like you could like walk by and be like, I'm pretty sure 50 cupcakes is too many, you know, like that'd be a good one. Let's see. I'll try to think of more.
That's a good one.
So,
yeah.
So,
we probably need to come up with a list of things to say to embarrass people.
I like
when
that.
they're on speakerphone calls.
Yeah, the funny thing is that I would probably do. I'm the one that would actually do that. I don't really get embarrassed, so I just don't care. So
I probably would only be allowed to do this if my family was not with me, because if they were, they would get.
You realize that like this is a very this like game that we're talking about is like it's a very Gen X sort of thing, right? You understand that, right?
Probably,
like,
yeah.
Like that's like because like Gen X is known as the generation that doesn't give an F about anything, and so like that's the like anybody else from any other generation would be like mortified by what we're talking about. Like what?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So set it up. So
yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. I think it's me next. It's a groundbreaking AI chip, runs on light and is smaller than a grain of salt. I don't know. I read it. I don't know what's going on. My dad sent this to me. I thought it was cool. I had to tag it. So
they basically built an AI chip that runs on light instead of electrons. So it's light processing, but it's so small that it can literally fit at the end of a fiber optic cable. Dang. And so what's interesting here is that basically it could become a part of the transmission line and start doing interesting things to the data as it's being transmitted, instead of waiting for it to be transmitted and then processed somewhere else, or, whatever it is. So I think there's some interesting opportunities here. Like you could, implement encryption, quantum encryption, things like that.
Yeah.
As it's going through a fiber optic cable.
Right.
I mean, it's fascinating.
Okay.
There's still apparently a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But I think it shows you where things are going.
Right.
And it's pretty interesting.
All right. I like it.
Tech wreck, time to get your tech wreck.
Tech wreck, chicky.
Tech wreck. Time to get your tech wreck.
Okay, Adam, it is tech wreck time. What do you have for us this week?
I'm going to share a tech wreck that I'm loving and hating at the same time so far, but I'm going to love it in the long run, I'm certain. So it's N8N.io, N8N, letter N, 8N.io. And it's kind of like Zapier, except a little bit more technical. And they just introduced AI agents. And so basically you can go in and build an AI agent. And what you can do is you could say, when I do this chat input, I want you to connect to my OpenAI API account. And then using that account, you're going to do this, and this. And then you're going to spit this out. So like, for example, one of the people I was watching on YouTube said to his agent that he created in N8N.io, he said, hey, look up these articles and send the articles over to Sanjay, and then email the articles over to Sanjay and book a meeting with Sanjay for next week on my calendar. And the agent was able to do all 3 of those tasks completely on its own without any more input from the user whatsoever. And so that's kind of the level of AI agent we're getting to, where you can legitimately have kind of an Iron Man Jasper that's sort of like, hey, go do this, and this, and schedule this for me, and it'll just go off and do it. And so I know OpenAI is coming out with agents themselves, but that's not been released to the public yet. So N8N.io is a way to sort of jumpstart that yourself and kind of start doing things, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So that's cool. By the way, you said Jasper, Iron Man, it's Jarvis.
Jarvis. That's right. Jarvis. That's right.
And,
yes.
And the reason why that is top of mind for me, I recently did a tech rec. This will be a bonus tech rec here, on the voice assistant for Home Assistant.
Okay.
The device. I got the device.
Okay.
And one of the 3 keywords that you can use is "Hey Jarvis."
What? No, that's amazing. I love it. I love it.
That's one of the 3 names. It's Nabu.
Okay.
Which is the name of the company.
Yeah.
Hey Nabu, Hey Jarvis, and Hey Mycroft. Mycroft to me was just too
Mycroft?
weird. Nabu was no.
Nabu.
And so Jarvis I went
I
with.
kind of like Nabu. It's kind of a fun name. It's kind of a Nabu.
Isn't that the planet on
Naboo? Naboo is from Star. Yeah, it's from Star Wars. Yeah, Queen Amidala from Naboo. I think what's she from Naboo? I feel like that's right.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, what's your tech rec for the week?
So I've got talking about TikTok. This is a different kind of talk. It's Wiki Talk.
Wiki Talk.
So I found this in an article. We were going to have this in the lineup, but I took the article out. Yeah, you can read the article in the show notes.
Okay.
We've linked to it as well. But Wiki Talk is basically somebody has built a front end for Wikipedia to make Wikipedia look like TikTok, and you can just scroll random articles doing that. And I got to say, it's kind of fun to do that on the phone if you have some time to kill. And this way you're learning stuff while you're scrolling stuff. So it's kind of neat.
I want a video version of that though. Like that's the thing is like, I don't want a reading version. I like the idea of an app where you're learning, like learning is the primary thing, but that you're flipping through vertical videos learning, somebody actually teaching you, which would be kind of great. Yeah. I mean, I think TikTok could potentially be used for that if you grab the right hashtag or whatever else. But the problem with TikTok is that you're never going to log in and do that. You're going to be entertained. You're not going to go and like, oh, let me get the right hashtag for this education thing. You're going to like, but if you had a different app, maybe an app you could do it with. So
maybe we need to start a new social media network where it's like the videos that you supply can only be educational. You
only
have to learn
educational.
something.
The problem with that, of course, is that somebody's going to log on there and be like, I'm going to educate you about flat Earth. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, I mean, that's something to learn about or learn that's not real about.
It's a fun black hole to go down and hear their arguments, though. Man, some of those arguments are so creative. They're very creative arguments. I will say that. Like they're incredibly creative about like how they have this whole like methodology about how the world is flat and it's surrounded by ice mountains in Antarctica.
Ice
and if
mountains.
you are so, I don't even know, man. It's wild.
These are people that have never gotten on an airplane, right?
I assume so. Yeah. I mean, listen, once you are willing to deny that the earth is round. So we've gone back how many hundreds of years by that point in our knowledge? Once you're willing to do that, I kind of feel like you're kind of willing to like give up on any degree of truth. What's like, you definitely have to believe in Sasquatch and the Loch Ness monster. You got to believe in Area 51 and alien probing and all that stuff. Like clearly that's obvious.
I believe Area 51 is a place.
Well, it's a place. Yeah. But I mean, like you got to hardcore buy into all of it at that point. That's all. That's my theory. So I'm sure that's going to make somebody mad, but it is.
Yeah, they're probably not TikTok y'all listeners. So it's fine.
All right. How can our listeners find and connect with you? Speaking of listeners,
they can find me at sanjaypark.com. What about you, Adam?
I'm at adamjwalker.com, and I'll be writing some stuff soon. So
Chasing down Sasquatches.
Chasing down. That's going to be my next blog post.
Dun, dun, dun.